Idalia set to strike Florida as a major hurricane. Hurricane Idalia is moving northwards right now and is headed towards the Florida Peninsula and the Panhandle region. Already some of its eastern bands affecting the coast right now, 24.6 north, 84.8 degrees west. Recon planes are thoroughly investigating the storm throughout today, and as of 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, it had winds of 85 miles per hour and a pressure of 976 millibars, moving just slightly east of north at 14 miles per hour. At this rate, we expect landfall tomorrow morning, just after sunrise, along the coast of the Big Bend area of Florida. Here's its code position displayed on the map, once again with those winds extending out up to 140 nautical miles in the southeastern quadrant. And those winds will probably expand a little bit more as the storm continues northwards. A storm surge warning is in effect for Englewood to Indian Pass, including Tampa Bay, and there could be an exceptional storm surge in some of these areas. It is just 308 kilometers from Key West right now, and a hurricane warning also in effect for the middle of Longboat Key to Indian Pass, and tropical storm warnings also for parts of the coast. 431 kilometers from Tampa, 526 from Cedar Key, and 571 from Steinhatchee. Those locations could receive the storm's landfall, those last two particularly. Storm surge is a major issue right now, and we are now expecting a catastrophic storm surge of up to 15 feet in the Big Bend region of Florida when it makes landfall tomorrow morning. This will be accompanied by winds of over 120 miles per hour. Far-reaching and long-lasting storm surge impacts are expected from Indian Pass to Chokoloskee of varying magnitude, but the highest amounts are expected just north of Cedar Key. Here's the forecast track over the next few days based on the ensembles, and it takes it into landfall there. Slight westward movement in that forecast, by the way, which is curious, but NHC still have it slightly further east. And then still possibly a tropical storm moving out over the water throughout the weekend and eventually maybe towards Bermuda by the early point of next week. Tropical storm force winds will also be felt along the US East Coast, extending possibly all the way up North Carolina throughout the later part of this week. 85 miles per hour depicted. Recon, National Hurricane Center, suggesting that they're undersampled a little bit, and so 85 mile per hour is the current intensity. That's Category 1, and the National Hurricane Center are expecting a major hurricane landfall with winds of 125 miles per hour. That's a high-end Category 3, and I wouldn't really argue with that forecast. A lot of models are on board with that as well, as you can see there, particularly the HWRF and the HMON model. GFS a little bit lower than that, a Category 2 status I think that is, or maybe even Category 1, but certainly the hurricane models have much more weight on that National Hurricane Center's forecast. Wind shear will drop briefly and then it will sharply rise after it makes landfall, or possibly slightly before, which may mean that there could be a slight reprieve and a bit of weakening just before the landfall. We're certainly hopeful of that, but we can't guarantee it by any stretch. GFS model itself there is calling for the storm to do a loop around and then actually arrive into Florida once again the second time around as a remnant low. There it is, moving on through, losing those tropical storm force winds at the weekend, and then what's left of it starts to move towards the west again and makes landfall not far from Jupiter by the looks of things. Simulated radar imagery shows the bulk of the rainfall on the northern side of the storm, but there'll certainly be some impressive thunderstorms on the eastern bands, and they could produce the odd tornado and waterspout. What's left of it will start to blow up maybe a little bit more towards the end of that loop there. You can of course see Franklin moving off out to sea as well, where that landfall is pretty much set in stone for tomorrow morning, and we're not entirely sure what time yet, but it will probably be after sunrise and before lunchtime. But at the moment we're probably expecting the nearest time around 8 or 9 a.m. Expected rainfall amounts will be probably maximum ceiling there of about 10 inches, and that would be near the landfall zone, probably on the west side of the storm. And then inland, there could be some significant rainfall amounts through central Georgia and into the interior regions of the Carolinas, which could reach up to 6 inches, maybe a little bit more than that. So in general, could be a big rain event for some of those areas along that line, south of Charlotte, well to the south of Atlanta, somewhere around Fayetteville in North Carolina as well, could get quite a lot. Tallahassee could get up close to 10 inches there, 250 millimeters. Western coast of Florida, we were looking at that briefly then, we were looking at about 3 inches. Sea surface temperatures are of course extremely warm on approach to this landfall, and they are all the way probably about 30 degrees Celsius minimum, and could be a little bit higher than that in a few spots. Off the coast of the Carolinas, those temperatures as well are still around 29 degrees Celsius, and so it may still hold on to some of its strength when it emerges off the US East Coast. But that late forecast track is absolutely quite uncertain at this point. So let's take a look at the storm on satellite, and it's starting to really show off that eye a little bit more on the visible imagery as we look at this wide shot here. You can see Franklin on the right hand side as well. Infrared probably showing it a little bit better there, with the cloud tops wrapping around the south side of that eye particularly right now. It's not a dual blow up on either side, but certainly with that one area that's blowing up on that south side is an indication that this storm is strengthening. I wouldn't say that it's rapid just yet, but it certainly is curious amounts of strengthening. But look at all of that rainfall, looking at radar now blending into this. Some looking pretty gnarly, a few bands there that's just about to reach the western coast of Florida, Marco Island, Cape Coral, up towards Sarasota fairly soon. Force 13 will have live coverage on this storm from the 5 p.m. advisory all the way through the night. Stay tuned and subscribe for more updates.